Chapter 53. And I'll take the low road. It was the last leg of the journey. The roads became long and straight and curved their way between some very high hills. Soon they found themselves approaching signs that said Scotland 20, then Scotland 15, then Scotland 5. I don't think I can make it any plainer. They were getting closer to Scotland. "We're nearly there," said Janet. "Well, not quite," said Amy. "My dad's place isn't right on the border." "Are we going to where he lives?" says Raoul. "No," said Amy. "We're going to where he works." "Why?" "You'll see when we get there," said Amy. "So how far from the border is that?" said Janet. "Not far. Well, actually, I'm not sure. But I know a man who does, or at least a voice of a man or a woman." She pressed the sat-nav button. "You take the high road," it sang. "Oh," said Amy. "And I'll take the low road." "Why is it Scottish now?" "I think it might have a programme where it does whatever accent suits where it is," said Raoul. "And I'll be in Scotland before ye," it continued. "Well, you won't, Mrs. Satnav," said Jack. "Unless something very strange happens, we will both be in Scotland at the same time." This isn't telling us how much further we have to go," said Janet. "Yes, I've just realised that, because it's the radio," said Amy. She pressed another button. "Stay on this road for 12 miles, said the sat-nav in a completely normal sat-nav voice. "Then you will have reached your final destination." "Hooray!" shouted all the children at once. And this was when the Taylor Turbochaser made its most painful sound noise yet. Not a groan, but more of a long, extended whimper, and then ground to a complete halt. "Oh dear," said Amy. Chapter 54. Not very nice. The Turbochaser trundled off to the side of the road. Amy and Janet and Jack looked at Raoul. "ETA at destination 1347, based on current road speed," said the sat-nav. "Ugh," said Amy. "Dad's leaving work at midday." Said Ralph. "Try turning it on and off again." "Really?" said Jack. "Really," said Raoul. "Yes, the problem with that, Raoul," said Amy, "is that it is off. And what I am doing now, and have in fact been doing for about a minute, is pressing the on switch." She did so again, and as you can see, nothing is happening. "Oh dear," said Raoul. "That's what Amy said," said Janet. "OK," said Jack. "So what do you think is wrong?" "Well," said Raoul, "I could get out and look under the bonnet and spend some time tinkering about, but I think I know what it is. We've run out of gas." "Gas?" said Janet. "I thought it runs on batteries." "It does." He pulled out the little door of the dashboard, the one with the red switch inside. It felt quite a long time ago now since Amy first flicked that switch. A turbocharged battery, if you remember. And this door is marked only in emergencies. He looked around. "We've had it on the whole time." Jack and Amy exchanged glances. "Well," said Amy, "it kind of was an emergency most of the time." "So it's a gas battery," said Janet. "No, it's an electric battery," said Raoul, "and it's run out of electricity. I was using gas as a sort of metaphorical catch-all term for power." "What?" said Janet. "Never mind." "So what are we going to do?" said Amy, looking around. "I can see lots of hills and grass and cars passing by us, but no charging points." "OK, well, I did think this might happen," said Raoul, "so I have a good idea." "Oh no, please no," said Janet. "You don't have to say that every time I say I have an idea," said Raoul, getting out of the car. "We went round the back and opened the old chest. Then he came back to the front again, dragging a large plastic crate with something inside it, something not very nice looking. I didn't know what this would be. I didn't know this would be so heavy." Amy wrinkled her nose. "What is that?" "Phew," said Raoul. Yes, said Amy, it does smell, but what is it? No, it is poo. Cow poo. Do you remember? I scraped loads of it off the back of the Turbochaser when we went through that field of cattle. What? Said Jack. And it's been in the car the whole time, and I'm the one who gets the blame for the smell? Well, when that's been giving off poo gas the whole time, well, thanks very much. So why did Raoul say we ran out of gas? Said Janet. Oh, heavens, said Raoul. It's just an expression, something people say. But, he continued, calming down, as it happens, we kind of will be running out of gas now, if my idea works out. Because one thing cow poo contains, of course, methane, which is a gas, through which we can make poo into biofuel. Well done, Janet. Thanks, said Janet. I have no idea what you're talking about. So, said Raoul, who's going to help me get the poo out of the crate and into the right part of the engine? The other children looked at each other. Then, very deliberately, Amy put her hand up and said, I can't. I'm disabled. Chapter 55. Believe. In the end, Amy did help. Holding the bonnet, it wasn't really a bonnet. It was lots of metal trays welded together, but it served as a bonnet up. Meanwhile, Raoul twiddled around underneath, and Janet and Jack were given the job of lifting up the cow poo crate ready to pour. Hold your end higher, shouted Janet. What? Closer to my nose, said Jack. It has to be diagonal for us to pour it. Oh, suddenly you're an expert in geometry. I'll slam you up against me tree in a minute. That is literally the worst joke I've ever heard. I'm laughing at it, said Amy. Can you two stop arguing, said Raoul. And you stop laughing, Amy. I'm trying to concentrate. He bent down and then gestured for them to step forward. He had put a funnel into the section of engine. Okay, into there, pour the manure. And they did, while both going, ugh. A few seconds later, they were all back in the car. Okay, Amy, said Raoul. Let's try and start her up again. Do you think it's going to work? Raoul shook his head. Only one way to find out. Amy nodded and pressed the on switch. Nothing happened. Oh dear, said Raoul. No, said Amy. Come on. It's like the sat-nav. We have to believe this is going to work. Yes, everybody, said Jack. Believe in poo. Amy shouted back, Shut up, Jack! Jack started doing his stupid voice. Shut up. I mean it, shut up. I have had enough of you being sarcastic and cynical and thinking it's funny just to repeat stuff back in a stupid voice. Okay, sometimes it is funny, but not always. If you're my brother and you love me, you will do what I say, which is to believe that this will work. There was a pause, during which Jack looked a little ashamed. You sound like Mum, he said sulkily, with her silly quotes about how if you believe in your dreams, they will all come true. Yes, said Amy, they are silly, but you know what? A lot of her quotes have come into my head all through this journey, and they've helped. They really have, so please, Jack. He looked at her. Okay, I'll give it a go. I was believing it already, said Janet. Thank you, Janet, said Amy, although that didn't work. Yes, it might if we do it all together, though. Ready, steady. She turned back to the steering wheel. Believe. And they all did. Jack even closed his eyes. Janet scrunched up her face as if she was believing really hard, and Amy flickered the on switch, and nothing happened. Chapter 56. The Ready, Steady. Oh, said Amy, that always works in films and stuff. There was a pause. No one quite knew what to say. Then Raoul said, You could try it again. Okay, said Amy. She flickered the switch off and then on. And it worked. The engine fired, and the car, with another big groan, trembled into life. Brilliant, said Raoul. Amazing, said Amy. Fantastic, said Jack. I wasn't believing then, though, said Janet. Oh, I was, said Jack. So was I, said Raoul. Well, I wasn't, said Janet. I wasn't ready. You didn't do the build-up, you know, the ready, steady. You didn't do that. Okay, said Amy, but I don't really feel I did anything now. Sorry. Can you turn it off and do it again, said Janet. Amy shook her head and drove back onto the road towards Scotland. ETA 11:45 at destination, said the sat-nav. Yay, said Amy. Okay, your task for this section of the book is to learn your home address. If you don't know it, please ask someone to help you with this and write it down. Thank you.